dollar under threat.
BRICS currency.
The BRICS countries.
These BRICS countries.
Out of BRICS.
Very soon, the US dollar will be outclassed by a currency that will shock the world, and we will explain why. In 1944, the dollar was named the official currency of the World Reserve at a meeting in Bretton Woods, USA. Since then, the United States of America has enjoyed years of economic growth, and from there has become one of the most powerful countries in the world. But all of that is about to change. A new world power is about to dwarf the US by introducing another currency for the World Reserve. Which currency will this be? Why is this new currency going to cause a lot of headaches for the US? In this video, we will unveil shocking truths about the next big thing that will shake up global economics. If you are familiar with economic trends in 2001 through 2005, you might have heard about BRICS, B-R-I-C-S, or BRIC. The term BRICS refers to the 5 emerging economies of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Initially coined by Goldman Sachs economist Jim O'Neill in 2001, it was believed that by 2050, these economies would dominate the global economy. However, there were always skeptics who questioned the validity of this claim, with some suggesting that it was merely a marketing strategy by Goldman Sachs. Despite the initial hype surrounding the BRICS, the concept has lost its luster recently. There is less talk about their global domination potential. Even Goldman Sachs closed its BRICS-focused investment fund in 2015, merging it with a more comprehensive emerging markets fund. However, the BRICS are still significant players in the global economy. These 5 countries still represent a substantial share of the world's population and are important drivers of economic growth. As such, they continue to be essential partners for many countries and businesses seeking to expand their presence in emerging markets. These countries have always shared common interests where they mattered, and recently they decided it was time to give the United States something to deal with, a new currency. And it all started with a hint from a top Russian official. State Duma Deputy Chairman Alexander Babakov reportedly suggested that introducing a new currency is in the works at an economic forum in India, emphasizing the need for a new payment medium and highlighting digital payments as a promising and viable option. He also noted that this new currency could benefit BRICS members, particularly China, and not the West. This move could signify a shift toward a new world order as these economic powerhouses seek to distance themselves from the hegemony of the US dollar. But that's not all. Reports suggest this new currency would be backed by gold and other commodities like rare earth elements. This idea of a BRICS currency is not new, and discussions about creating a digital currency for a unified payment system have continued for some time. And it's not just this top Russian official calling for a challenge to the dominance of the US dollar. Former Goldman Sachs chief economist Jim O'Neill also recently urged the BRICS bloc to expand and take on the dollar's stronghold. If they can pull this off, it will be the most mind-blowing economic move of the year. But which currency are we looking at? Let's go back to something called the Contingent Reserves Agreement. The BRICS countries have been gearing up to tackle one of the biggest challenges facing the global financial system: instability. And they are not taking this lightly. Russia has taken the lead in this charge, becoming the first nation to ratify an agreement to set up a massive $100 million foreign currency reserve pool. This game-changing development marks a significant milestone in the ongoing efforts to strengthen the global financial system. Known as the Contingent Reserves Arrangement, this pool of funds is a safety net that any of the BRICS nations can tap into in an emergency. By creating this emergency fund, the BRICS countries effectively take charge of their financial stability. This is particularly important as it provides a way for them to cover their debts during times of crisis, keeping their economies afloat. The reserve pool also plays a critical role in protecting against currency fluctuations. Take Brazil, for example, whose currency declined by nearly 20% against the US dollar in just the first few months of 2015 due to political instability and inflation. With the reserve pool, Brazil and other BRICS countries can keep their currencies stable even when experiencing difficult times. Now, there are several theories about the currency BRICS will adopt. A few people have suggested that the Chinese yuan is in a pole position to take center stage. Others believe that the Russian ruble is a better choice. Economically, it would be wise for BRICS to consider the yuan the best option, but there is more to this than we all think. The new currency would be based on a basket of the money of the five-nation bloc, including the Chinese RMB yuan, the Russian ruble, the Indian rupee, the Brazilian real, and the South African rand. The BRICS nations are using their time effectively and are studying mechanisms to exchange financial information to make this vision a reality. This move is an essential step towards greater economic integration and cooperation among the BRICS countries, who are increasingly asserting their influence on the world stage. As we move further into 2023, the BRICS currencies have already begun to make waves in the global financial markets. As of January 5, 2022, the currencies traded greatly against the dollar and euro, indicating these emerging market economies' growing strength and resilience. Historic data revealed a significant depreciation of the US dollar against the Russian ruble and Brazilian real and the euro against all the BRICS currencies throughout 2022. Despite facing sanctions and disconnection from SWIFT, the Russian ruble emerged as the world's strongest performing currency in 2022, with an impressive 30% increase in value on average. Also, despite the challenges posed by the pandemic and conflicts in Ukraine, the BRICS group has steadily boosted economic ties, with trade turnover growing. In 2022, intra-BRICS trade reached an impressive $162 billion US, indicating the growing importance of business within the bloc. The ever-increasing importance of the BRICS bloc in global trade has not gone unnoticed, with Iran and Argentina recently submitting official applications to join the grouping. Meanwhile, the broader push towards de-dollarization continues, with member countries of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization (SCO) showing severe intent to switch to settlements in national currencies. The SCO's full membership comprises Russia, China, India, Pakistan, Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan, while another 13 countries are involved with the ASEAN and CIS trade blocs. According to the Russian presidential envoy for SCO affairs and Foreign Ministry Ambassador-at-Large Bakhtir Kakamov, this ambitious goal will take time to achieve. China's trade with the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, and South Africa, has grown by 14.1% in the first half of 2022, outpacing China's overall trade growth rate by 4.7%. This underscores the increasing emphasis and dynamics of the China-BRICS corridor, with a marginally higher growth rate than China-EU trade, significantly higher than China-US trade, and only slightly behind China-ASEAN trade growth levels. Total trade between China and the other BRICS countries has amounted to $244 billion US, with Chinese exports up 20.6%, and imports from the BRICS nations up 8.3%. Energy products such as crude oil, natural gas, coal, and others accounted for the majority of BRICS imports at 36.2%, while agricultural products accounted for 22.5%. In contrast to the relatively static trade growth of the US and EU, China's trade with countries and regions along the Belt and Road Initiative saw a notable increase of 17.8% in the first half of 2022. This underscores the importance of China's ambitious infrastructure and development plan, which seeks to promote economic integration across Asia, Europe, and Africa. Moreover, China's trade with partners under the RCEP Free Trade Agreement rose by 5.6%, demonstrating the growing significance of this landmark agreement, which covers a wide range of economic sectors. If the statistics are to be followed, the Chinese yuan would be a perfect currency for BRICS to adopt. With its volatility and China's growing tech industry, the yuan would do well to replace the dollar as a global reserve currency. Ultimately, a push for the yuan as the official global world currency would increase the economic power of BRICS. It would also bring the dollar to a collapse and usher in a relatively new force in the international market. If you want to be the first to know when it happens, make sure to hit that subscribe button.